My roommate ruined my cheating ex's life for me. I know tilde this post is so long. I'm sorry. But I did my best to give a concise recounting of this relationship without leaving out any of the backstory that makes the little moments of revenge feel so satisfying. Unfortunately, it's really long. In a nutshell, my 34, ex-boyfriend Sven 44, could be pretty accurately described as a sociopath. Of course, that was never apparent to me while we were dating, but those familiar with a SPD will know that many sociopaths wear an elaborate mask and lie as easily as breathing. This is true of Sven. When I met him, we quickly became close friends. We had a couple weeks in there where we thought we might start dating, but he wanted to move way faster than I was ready for, so we remained in the friend zone instead. He was progressive and emotionally intelligent and generous. We loved the same music and shows and activities. He showed vulnerability. He shared his traumatic childhood backstory with me. He leaned on this story often as a pillar of his victimhood, which he uses to manipulate everyone around him. He also shared, very early on before anything physical ever happened, that he was HSV+. Not to say that there were zero red flags about this guy, but the good I saw in him was so overwhelming that I had an easy time dismissing them. We started dating in a weird way. During our friend zone time, this lasted about a year. He had moved out of state to be with a new partner, Melody, who he had been dating for only a few months. He never shared a lot of details about her, and I had assumed that they had some history that explained the seemingly sudden seriousness of their relationship. Then, seriously, like 2 months into the move, Sven started to message me in a more flirty way. He told me he loved me, and that it took moving away to realize what we had, etc., etc. Obviously, this made me really uncomfortable. I told him I wasn't interested in being the other woman, or in a long-distance relationship of any kind, and that he and I needed to keep it platonic. He tried to make it work with her for several more months, while telling me how she was an alcoholic, and that she would yell at him, etc. Eventually, he told me that they broke up and that he was making arrangements to move back. He was still living with her though. He began sending increasingly flirtatious and romantic messages. This is the point where I almost escaped him, but he was clever enough to make friends with my roommate 31, NB, Aris. Aris and I have been living together for 7 years. A serendipitous friend of a friend turned roommate situation evolved into a deep besties friendship. Aris helped convince me that he was really a good guy who was madly in love with me, and that despite the weirdness of his moving out of state and then changing his mind, I should finally give him a real chance. Without going into great detail about the relationship, I can say that the typical idealize and devalue pattern of emotional abuse began to emerge pretty soon after we moved in together, though he was really sweet most of the time. He moved into the townhouse I shared with Aris about a year after he moved back to town, and we'd been dating officially for 6 months. He lived with us for almost a year and a half. Anyway, let's get to the good stuff. Like any good sociopath, he was lying about a lot, being manipulative, and cheating like you would not believe. Seeing as this post is already way too long, I probably should skip the story of how Aris caught him cheating, but ups here it is. By the sheer intuition to glance at his phone one evening when the 3 of us were at home together, they saw him open, close, and then like an IGDM of a photo of a pair of tits. They instantly texted me, as I was sitting opposite him on the couch. Yeah, the fucking chutzpah, and I called him out. He angled his phone away from me to delete the message thread, but Aris saw him do it. He gaslit the fuck out of us both and denied it. Denied the DM. Denied deleting it. I didn't know who to believe, my partner or my best friend. Honestly, I believed them both and thought there must be some rational explanation that let Sven off the hook without invalidating what I believe Aris saw. I could not imagine that he could look me dead in the eyes and lie to me like that. He cried and played the victim in all this. A day later, he came up with a plausible explanation for the phone tits, that the photo was sent to his friend by a fan of their band because she had gotten a tattoo of their logo or something, and that the friend sent it to him to say, hey, check this out, gross. He had private conversations with both Aris and I, and we later found out that he had used different reasons, catered to our own biases, to excuse himself for the lying and gaslighting to Aris. It was his religious trauma, which he'd never heard about before, but Aris grew up queer and Christian, and he knew it would resonate with them. And to me it was past relationship trauma of his insecure and paranoid ex over policing his social media use. At this point he was on thin ice with me and I didn't really know how he was going to be able to rebuild the trust. But we lived together and had just adopted a dog together and our lives were so intertwined I just wanted to go back to normal if we could. I really wanted to believe him and not blow up our lives over some tits on his phone. Then, just a couple weeks later, Aris went to a party at Sven's ex-roommate's house. Sven had left the roommate situation on pretty bad terms, burning the bridge with the ex-roomie who we'll call Lun. One of Lun's friends, Holly, pulled Aris aside to tell them that Sven was cheating on me. Apparently, Holly had been sexting with Sven a few months back, sending nudes, etc. He had begun to get really pushy about convincing her to have a threesome with him and another girl, Tiara. He even sent her Tiara's nudes. She eventually got the ick and ghosted him. He responded to the ghosting by getting upset and aggressive with her. When confronted, he denied everything and willingly handed over his phone, which had of course been scrubbed of all evidence. He gaslit and denied and cried. He even threw up. I asked him for the truth so many times. He gazed into my eyes and told me I was the love of his life and that none of this made any sense. And why would Holly lie and make this up? I wanted to believe him so bad, but I contacted Holly and she provided the receipts. I kicked him out immediately. He packed up some clothes and left that night. I told him to get the rest of his shit while I was at work and to never speak to me again. Then I blocked him on everything and that was the last I spoke to him. Aris was not so tolerant, so begins the satisfying part of the story. As Sven was packing his bags to get out that first night, I was numb and in shock and still very used to protecting his feelings and shielding him from my friends' criticism, so I did not let Aris vandalize his car like they wanted to. They did write liar on the hood and lipstick, though, and we took some pictures with it. After he left, Aris did the thing that would open Pandora's box. They posted a warning on social media. They are something of an internet personality and make their living on TikTok, so their IG has decent reach. The IG story simply showed his profile and gave the warning that he is a liar and cheater. The release of this information hastened Sven to come a day earlier than planned to get the rest of his stuff. I was at work and planned to stay there until he was gone. Aris had made plans to make his move as miserable as possible. The night before he came to pack up, Aris and I organized his meticulously curated record collection, moving records into the wrong sleeves while alphabetizing the sleeves themselves. Aris wanted to break them, but I wouldn't let them. I was still protecting him. I did allow them to scratch some and let the dog bite a couple of them and tear some of the inserts. Aris also ripped all of the strings off of his bass guitar and threw away one of his pedals when I wasn't around. Bless them, when he came to collect his shit, Aris blasted IDFWU by Big Sean on repeat until he packed up his soundbar, and then proceeded to continue to play it on their phone as loud as they could. They threw dog kibble at him as he packed his things in the living room. While booing him and yelling shame, Aris would not allow Sven's brother in the house to help him move. Aris is approximately 6 feet tall and can be intimidating. Sven argued and tried to bring his brother inside, but Aris physically blocked the door, yelling, "Don't effing come into my house. You don't have permission to be here." He is not getting any help, and he is going to do it himself, and he is going to suffer. This is my favorite part of the story. Not gonna lie, Aris mocked and laughed at Sven and took video of him moving his stupid precious mid-century modern dresser down the stairs on his own as his brother stood outside, helpless. Towards the end of his eviction, I messaged Aris that I'd found Tiara as the threesome partner, long-term affair IG account. Aris yells to him we found Tiara. And after that he had a fire lit under his ass so hot, and he finished up so quickly, that he forgot to take a bunch of his shit, including his 55 Roku TV, an IKEA bar cart, a humidifier, a collection of really nice art supplies, and a cool hanging lamp that we love, score for us. Meanwhile, Aris's post blew up locally, and all of a sudden both Aris and I were receiving DMS from women who had information. He was either in their DMS being a creepy sex pest, or they had been sexting with him, or they had met up with him and they had sex. We found that he had a completely different mo with these women, asking them to do kinky stuff he never even brought up with me, pressuring them for nude photos, pressuring them into making sex videos with him, and getting creepy and pushy with a lot of them. He constructed different lies for different affairs. Some were short-term, some were ongoing for months. I'm pretty sure he was cheating with Tiara for about a year. She thought he and I were open. We found out from an old acquaintance of his that this is not Sven's first public outing for this behavior, and that his marriage back in 2017 ended on eerily similar terms. After he had moved to New England for his marriage, he had to move back to our state after being outed. As screenshots and stories rolled in, I began to realize that he was not sharing his HSV to plus status with any of these women. I saw a screenshot of him telling someone that he had just been tested and was negative for any STIs. Alarms start blaring in my mind. He was not only manipulating women into sex with lies about he and I being in an open relationship or just denying my existence in general, he gaslit one long-term affair partner who had gotten wise and found my social media accounts. But he was also withholding sexual health information. This is predatory. This is sexual abuse, period. Aris makes another post, this time much more incriminating, and shares that he is a sexual abuser and predator. The fallout from that second post is even worse for Sven. At this point, he's losing friends and sexting partners left and right. We get into contact with the most recent ex. Remember Melody? Well, it turns out that he did not break up with Melody when he said he did, and that when he moved back here, she and him were still a couple, so he had been cheating on her with me after all. When I told him we couldn't be flirty or romantic when he was in a relationship, he just decided to pretend he wasn't, but he still later used the "I made a sacrifice for you, I moved back here for you" manipulation tactic with me on many occasions. Melody, fortunately, used to live in our city and used to work at the venue that Sven's band was booked to play at in the coming week. Melody went ahead and put a word in with the venue, asking them if they really wanted to feature sexual predators on their stage. The venue dropped the show, which clued in Sven's bandmates to the situation, who decided to dissolve the band. Now, it's been over 6 months and a lot of therapy sessions for me, and at this point I'm just trying to move on and recover, and never date another man for the rest of my life. Then, a couple weeks ago, Aris received some new information. The acquaintance who told us about the ex-wife in New England still hate follows Sven, and she shares that he's now posting clues that he's dating someone new. She provided the IG handle of the new partner. Let's call her Haley. Aris told me they wanted to reach out and I said go for it. Just leave me out of it. Turns out, Sven is back at it with his old patterns. Haley, of course, knew nothing of his public shaming or past behavior. She got the same love bombing and illusion that I got from him. No pressure for nudes or sexual pestering, just a sweet and attentive tortured soul with so much love and generosity to give in a sad childhood. But anyway, Aris finds out that they've been talking for several months. Haley lives in New England, and Sven was planning to move up there to be with her. See a pattern, folks? She had plane tickets and had planned to come here to visit him the upcoming weekend. Aris provided Haley with all the screenshots she asked for, and I think even put her in touch with one of the affair partners. Empowered with the truth, Haley broke up with Sven and blocked him everywhere. Unrelated, but we heard that he also posted that he crashed his car and had to borrow money from one of his last remaining friends to get it fixed. I also hear that he's gone down to part-time at his job and may be on the way to being fired. He works in the music industry and info gets around. Nobody wants a pariah on their payroll. Last, I found out from Aris that Sven is now planning to move to the East Coast to live with his one remaining loyalist pick-me friend, the one who paid for his car. So, life ruined by cheating on me, and all I had to do was have a cool friend. Follow for more such content.